I'm Dr. Duke with The New American. The more I think about movies in Hollywood, the more we kind of roll our eyes at the fake wokeness of Hollywood, how we're supposed to believe that Hollywood cares less about making money than they do about, social justice causes. But it's really getting pretty ridiculous. And the most ridiculous example that's now in the news is the new Charlie's Angels remake. Now, we've had three. We've had the 1970s Charlie's Angels, which was basically kitschy TV, right? It was Love Boat with handguns. Three very pretty women who looked really good in pantsuits or bathing suits or dresses, who also were just really good at fighting crime. Pretty harmless show. Then we get the 1990s, I believe it was, remake with, modern actresses. And again, a little boring, hard to recapture that kitschy TV reality feel. But nevertheless, it did okay in the movies. And you also had three pretty actresses. And so that's not enough. The modern feminists have decided Elizabeth Banks directs now the new Charlie's Angels, which is all woke all the time. And to the surprise of nobody, after it was released last week, nobody's watching it. Why? Now, see, it's not the first time, right? We saw this with Ghostbusters. Was it really, really necessary to remake Ghostbusters and keep the same premise, just make the Ghostbusters women? What exactly are you trying to accomplish? Over and over again, the progressive left does this. The feminist left does this. And this raises an important question. Why is it, lefties, that you can't make real women's movies for women? Why are you incapable with that brain trust of Hollywood, the one that was overseen by Harvey Weinstein for so long? Why are all you woke men unable to make actual movies that women might want to see? Why do you have to keep going back in history and finding humorous or funny or kitschy movies that starred men that you're now going to turn into chick flicks? It doesn't work. And to me, it's a lack of intellectual. I'm beginning to ask myself this question. Are feminists, whether they're male and female, are feminists just uncreative? Are they incapable of inventing new vehicles for movies that would showcase women? Because what I keep seeing you do is make the same movies again and again, or bring up old retread movies and just empty them out of the male characters and add women. The next one that's coming down the road, apparently, the new Bond movie. Right? We've had, 8,000 James Bond movies. We've had from Sean Connery all the way through Pierce Brosnan, and now you've got Daniel Craig. But apparently, that hyper-masculine of all genres. I mean, Bond was always a playboy. He was tomcatting around. There was a different hot Bond girl in every one of these movies. As the James Bonds got older, the girls got younger. Very, very stereotypical stuff, but it sold, right? It was the action. People went to Bond movies to see pretty girls and to watch action sequences. So what are the woke idiots of Hollywood planning now? A new James Bond movie where James Bond gets married, Daniel Craig gets married, and the wife refuses to take his name. And the word Bond girl has been banned from the set, apparently. So this is going to be a woke feminist version of the James Bond story. We're supposed to believe that Daniel Craig can take on the world's worst bad guys, but cowers at the knees of his own wife. That's where we're heading here. And when you stop and think of all of this, I reiterate the point I made a moment ago. What is there in the creative mindset of Hollywood that they are unable to create new shows for these women? Why do you have to reinvent the old ones? And I think that part of the answer to that is because feminism, modern feminist ideology, and especially the more radical iterations of third and fourth wave feminism, they really have their origins not in the women's liberation movement, not in equality, but they have their origins in Marxist socialism. As somebody who teaches on a university campus, I can tell you that the feminists I encounter on a daily basis aren't interested in equality. And you want to know why they're not? Because they already have it. The woke feminists realize that before the law, as far as America's laws are concerned, women by law are treated the same as men. Women do have rights as women. Women cannot be discriminated against in the workplace or any other public sphere. And by and large, they are not being discriminated against. So modern feminism should have really just went the way of the dodo bird. Once women were treated as equals, which they now are, there was really no need for it. But then, if that was the objective, simply equality, that's no fun. What the woke feminists of today want is power. And they want power at any opportunity they can take it. So they're not really about women's rights anymore. They're really about extra rights for women. And look, We already have a system that's somewhat skewed, right? Whenever a man and a woman divorce, pretty much the mother gets the babies, no questions asked. I actually agree with that, by the way. I understand why that happens. As important as fathers are and how our culture is being destroyed by children being raised without fathers, if you have to split up, the mom, particularly for little kids, is probably a greater influence and much more necessary. But that's one case where the courts actually are skewed towards women. Men who are good fathers and really want their kids oftentimes don't get them because we default to the woman. And so when you think about modern feminism, and I go back to my premise is that modern feminism, just like modern Marxism, just like modern social justiceism, just like all of these modern transgenderism, it's less about equality for people who are quote-unquote persecuted, and it's more about using politics and victimhood to take power. This is a old Marxist socialist ruse, isn't it? In the name of being oppressed, you can oppress others. Because your ancestors were harassed or censored, you now have the right to censor anybody who disagrees with you. And so when we think about what's going on with these woke Hollywood movies, you're making more and more movies, and you're finding it harder and harder to write scripts that demonstrate women can be strong. But here's the problem you have, Hollywood. The reason you keep going back to Charlie's Angels and Ghostbusters and 1,000 other TV series and old movies and remake them with women, here's your problem. You, Hollywood, have come to believe that feminism means women are men. So in other words, for you, all you can and it's true of male and female directors. The director of this failed Charlie's Angels movie is Elizabeth Banks, a woman. And Elizabeth Banks actually said before the movie even opened, if this movie fails, it will be because of sexism and misogyny. If the American people don't go see this movie, if American men don't go see this movie, it is because they are misogynists. So what she's basically telling you is, I very well may be the worst director in history, and judging from the clips I've seen of the movie, that's a possibility. But my inability to produce a movie that is interesting, even when I'm starting with a plot and a storyline and characters that somebody else created, my inability to turn that into something interesting for men and women is not my fault. It is the patriarchy's fault. I see this every day on college campuses. When women fail, it is the fault of men. That's what I mean when I say modern feminism isn't about equity, it's about power. What a lovely situation to be in. I'm directing a film, getting paid a lot of money to do it. I go back and steal an old TV show premise and just simply take out the men or update it based on the new age woman, right? And when that movie fails, it's not my fault. Maybe we ought to give Elizabeth Banks an Oscar, because the more Charlie's Angels fails, according to her, the more she is exposing sexism and misogyny in American culture. So, ironically, if the fewer tickets she sells, the more money she earns and the more awards she could make. That's what bothers me about modern feminism. There's no way for it to fail. It's always a built-in excuse. If you make a movie that 1 in 100 that women actually want to see, well, then you're a feminist hero. 99 times out of 100, you make or remake movies that nobody gives a rat's rip about watching because you feministized them, then you still win, because that exposes the horrors and the injustice of American patriarchy. Maybe it really is time to treat women like equals. Maybe when they make movies like this, they get what other directors get, which is blacklisted or removed from Hollywood. When you make these kind of big budget clunkers, you don't get to do it next time. Somebody else does it. And maybe we should learn this very, very, very valuable lesson. Just because you Hollywood elites, you academic elites, you believe that for a woman to actually be a woman, she must be a man. By that, she must be able to beat everybody up. She must be invincible. She must tower over the male figures. She must humiliate masculinity in the movie. That's what Charlie's Angels does, by the way. It mocks masculinity without really telling us anything new about femininity. If this is your attitude, there are probably about 150 million American women who don't see femality that way, don't see womanhood that way. If you make movies for real women, they will star real women with real women's problems and real women's solutions, not dragging up old 1970s action dramas for the evening soap operas for the delectation of everybody. Nothing feminist about that, you cowards. Look, thanks for joining us. I'm Dr. Duke. This is the New American Magazine, and this has been my take on the news. And I want to leave you with this again. Female and male are different for a reason. Different tastes, different attitudes. Think about that, feminist directors.